Alright, so my upload's being bad, so until it's working better, I thought we'd use this final moment because we are near the end of the game as of this recording session. So it's like there's only like a couple fights and then the final battle and stuff. Like some couple of side fights and then the final battle. But I thought we would do some reading because we still have to read these. So I'll start with Bright Rain. Bright Rain. The bright rain is going to start soon, the boy says, pointing out to sea. The bright rain, Kaim asks him. Uh-huh. It happens every night. Way out there, he says with a carefree smile. It's so pretty. Bright rain, huh? Yeah, I want you to watch it with me tonight. It's really pretty. The boy has never once left the island in the 10 years since his birth. The island is small and poor, and the only way to make a living there are fishing from dugout boats and gathering forest fruits. One momentous day follows another. The islanders waking at dawn and sleeping beneath the star-filled sky. The boy does not yet realize that this is the greatest happiness of all. The boy begins speaking to Kime, who turns to look in his direction. Hunkered down on the beach in the moonlight, the boy in profile glows like a chocolate sculpture. Over there where the bright rain falls is a great big island, right? I know all about it. That island is way bigger than this one. Way more stuff goes on there. And it's just full of shiny things, and pretty things, and food. That's way better than I can even imagine, right? Don't worry, I know all about it. Time says nothing but gives the boy a pained smile. Beyond the horizon lies a big island, indeed. A vast continent. Time was there until 4 days ago. And then, rocked in the hull of a freighter for 3 days and nights. He crossed the sea. He crossed the sea to this island. I know about it, but I've never seen it, the boy says, his voice dropping. He hangs his head, diverting the moonlight from his face. His chocolate skin melts into the darkness. Would you like to go there? Kaim asks. Sure, I would. The boy replies without hesitation. All the kids here want to. Everybody leaves the island, I suppose. They sure do. Boys and girls both. As soon as they're old enough to work, they go to the other country. Me too, in another 5 years. I'll be ready. In 3 years. I'll be ready in 3 years. Then I'll take the boat that you came here on and go to the other country and work hard and eat tons of yummy things. The boy raises his face again. Locked on the ocean, his eyes are shining. They are eyes full of hopes and dreams. But he knows nothing of the other country. He can never know a thing about it as long as he stays here. Not one of the young people who crossed the sea, their eyes shining like the boys with hopes and dreams, ever came back. Of course not. The boy would say, the other country is so much more fun, there's no point in coming back. The boy believes in the happiness awaiting him in the other country, about which he knows nothing. Only when they leave the island do the brown-skinned people learn that their skin is a different color from that of the people of in the other country. That the language of the island is of no use in the other country. That the people of the other country look on the islanders with cold eyes. That the way for them to meet people with the same brown skin, the same language, birthplace is the head for the island Island people's ghetto in town. The first words the boy was certain to learn in the other's country language would be the ones the people of the other country used for people like him. Illegal alien. By the time he learned it, he would be tumbling down the hill into the ghetto. The boy gallops away on the beach and returns a few minutes later with an overflowing armload of fruit. He says they grow where the wind from the ocean meets the wind from the mountain. They're at their best on nights when the moon is full. Go ahead, have a taste. He wipes a piece of fruit against his worn-out shirt and hands it to Kime. What do you call this? Kime asks. You're going to laugh. They pinned such a fancy name on it. Grain of Happiness. That's a nice name. Kime bites into the grain of happiness. It is shaped like an apple from the other country, but it is some 2 sizes smaller, and just that much more packed with juicy sweetness. So it's an apple. This is great, Kime said. You really like it? I'm glad, the boy says with a smile, but he is soon hanging his head like, I like that a lot too, the boy says, but I bet the other country has all kinds of stuff way better than this, right? Kime does not answer him, but takes another bite of a grain of happiness. The boy is right. There are lots of food in the other country far more delicious than these grains of happiness, or more precisely, there were. Now, however, the other country has been transformed into a battlefield. The war started 6 months ago. That was when the boy began seeing the bright rain every night. Oh. He's seeing explosions and stuff. The prosperity of the other country is extreme. The most glittering happiness is available there to anyone with enough money, and money is available there without restriction to anyone with enough power. Might makes right. Wealth is goodness. Those who are neither mighty nor wealthy obtain right and goodness by finding others who are both weaker and poorer than themselves, and ridiculing, despising, and persecuting them. The island people, whose language and skin color are different from those, are seen as the other country's shadow. This is not a shadow, however, that forms because there is light. The very existence of a shadow is what makes the light all the brighter. This is the only way that the inhabitants of the other country know how to think about things. Eventually, however, strength reaches a saturation point. Wealth that has run its course begins to stagnate, and expansion is the only course left open. Desires can only be fulfilled through a continual bloating. In order for the other country to remain strong and for the wealthy to stay wealthy, the leaders of the other country made war on the neighboring country. Any minute now, Fez looking out to sea again with a carefree laugh. The bright rain is going to fall way out over the sea. The war was supposed to have ended quickly. Everyone in the other country believed that with overwhelming wealth and strength, it would be easy for them to bring the neighboring country to its knees. To be sure, at first the war went according to plan. The occupied areas grew each day, and the entire populace of the other country became drunk with victory. One after another, however, the surrounding countries took the side of the neighboring country, which was only natural, for if the neighboring country fell, they themselves might be the other country's next target. The other country's entire diplomatic strategy failed, which was only natural, for no country on earth will make friends with a country that only knows how to flaunt its wealth and power. An allied force was organized around the neighboring country. Together, the surrounding countries sought to encircle and seal off the other country. From that point on, the war entered a stalemate. Limited battle zones saw troops advancing and retreating again and again, in the course of which the other country's wealth and power was consumed little by little. Disgust for war began to spread among the populace, and to obliterate that mood, the military circulated false propaganda. The military situation is developing in our favor. Our army has again crushed the enemy's troops. The truth was that the occupied territories were being recaptured one after another, and the Allied forces now were crossing the border to strike inside the other country's territory. In response to a foolhardy attack by the enemy, our resolute fighting men launched a counterattack, annihilating their foes. The day of our victory song is upon us. Stopping the war was out of the question. Admitting defeat was out of the question. The people had believed that wealth and power would enable them to rule everything, but now they knew the terror of having lost both. The Allied forces were joined by a powerful supporter, a mighty empire that wielded authority over the northern part of the continent joined the battle as if to say, "Let us finish the job for you," crushing the other country for all. But the powerful empire was not tried to destroy one upstart nation. It turned its overwhelming military might upon the Allied forces, as it had so many times in its history. It seized the opportunity of its clash with the surrounding countries to expand its own power. Having lost its leaders and been turned into a wasteland as far as I could see, the undercountry now became a new battlefield. Outnumbered, the Allied armies hired mercenaries from another continent. Kime was one of those. For many days he participated in a losing battle in which there was no way to tell which side was fighting for the right. After seeing his mercenary unit wiped out, Kime headed for the harbor. The boy's island has maintained a position of neutrality in the war. It is simply too small to do otherwise. It lacks the war-making capacity to participate in battle, and it possesses no wealth to attract the attention of the countries engaged in the fighting. But Kime knows what will happen. When the battle lines expand, this island will become valuable as a military foothold. On one side or the other will occupy the island, and it will do one of two things. It will construct a base, or it will reduce the entire island to ashes, thus preventing the enemy from using it as a military foothold. Nor is this a matter of the distant future. At the latest, it will happen a few weeks from now, or perhaps as soon as 2 or 3 days. Time has come to the island to convey this message, to tell the people that as many of them as possible should board tomorrow morning's rake or ferry to the nearby island. He wants them to start by sending away the children. He hopes never again to witness the spectacle of young lives being crushed like somebody bugs. Oh look, there goes the boy, pointing towards the horizon. Far out to sea, a white glow suffuses the night sky. The powerful empire has begun its night bombing. The boy has no idea what the bright rain really is. He can watch with sparkling eyes and murmur, "It's so pretty, so pretty." To be sure, viewed from afar, the bright rain is genuinely beautiful, like a million shooting stars crossing the sky all at once. But only when viewed afar. A dull thud resounds from the sky. Another dull thud, and another and another. Thunder? Oh no! If it rains. Thunder? If it rains, we can't go out fishing tomorrow. Solomon shrugged. He's such a friendly little fellow, thinks Kime. The boy had seen him on the shore and spoken to him without hesitation. Are you a traveler? He had asked, and went on speaking to him like an old friend. Kime wants children like this to be the first aboard the Blackrose ferry. "I'm going home now," says the boy. What are you gonna do? Oh, I guess I'll take a nap under a tree. You can sleep in our barn. Why don't you spend the night there? Thanks. But I want to watch the ocean a little longer. Tomorrow, though, I'd like you to show me around. I get it. You want to see the head of the village. I know a shortcut through the woods right over there. I was hoping to convince the village head to eat the island. If they act right away, they can make it. They can save a lot of the islanders. But Stan sweeping the sand from the seat of his pants. He looks questioningly at the sky. Funny. It sounds like a different kind of different from thunder. Little by little, they... The woods! Run to the woods! What? Hurry! His voice is drowned out by the deafening roars of machine guns. The bright rain has started. The island has been made a target far sooner than Kime imagined. Hey, wait a minute. Shaking free of Kime's grip. It's the bright rain. It's falling here now. Oh no. All but dancing for joy, the boy comes down until he's bathed from head to toe in the bright rain. A single night of bombing is all it takes to reduce the island to ash. Never realizing the value of the happiness they possessed. Never even knowing that such happiness has been snatched away from them in one night's passing. The people who filled the island with their lives until evening are gone in the morning. All dead except one, the immortal Kime. On the beach at dawn, the only sound is that of the waves. Again today, no doubt, urban warfare will decimate the city streets. And tonight, the bright rain will pour down on the town again. The boy who called the rain beautiful will never open his eyes wide with wonder. Kime lays the boy's corpse in a small dugout canoe that survived the flames. He places a ripe grain of happiness on the boy's chest and folds his arms over it, hoping that it will slake his thirst on the long road to heaven. He sets the dugout in the water and nudges it towards the open sea. Caught by the tide, rocked by the waves, the boat glides far out from the shore. Such a friendly little fellow. The boy smiles even in death. Perhaps it is the one gift the gods were able to bestow on him. The boy is setting out on a journey. It may never take him to that other country, Kime. May it never take him to that other country, Kime begs. Or any country for that matter. Kime knows there is no place forever free of that bright rain. Because he knows this, he sheds tears for the boy. The rain falls in his heart. Cold, sad, silent rain. Empty of bombs, the sky is maddening blue, wide and beautiful. The ranking of lives. A terrible epidemic is ravaging the kingdom. The onset of the disease is sudden, due to generic or perhaps hormonal factors. It strikes only males. The victim experiences a high fever, a violent headache, and often a swift death. The disease does have two hopeful aspects. First of all, once an individual survives it, he need not fear catching it again. From then on, he has immunity. Secondly, an extremely effective medicine exists. If used preventively or in the initial stages of the disease, the drug, a tablet made primarily from a plant that grows in the mountain, almost always results in a cure. Does this mean people can relax? and that there is no need to worry? Unfortunately not, for an iconic twist of fate is something that life tends to thrust upon people all too often. The high altitude plant used to make the medicine that is so effective in prevention cure is extremely rare, virtually on extinction. In other words, there is not enough medicine for all the kingdom's subjects, only for certain people. You see what I mean? As dog. A quiet man on patrol in the capital's marketplace with a fellow military policeman kind. Sending his sharp gaze down one alley after another, Kimes responds. With saying they rank people to decide who gets the medicine? Exactly. And deciding the rank order, they brand us as either subjects indispensable of the nation, or other subjects. Capital military policemen will receive their medicine relatively early, which demonstrates their ranking as subjects indispensable to the nation. I guess it makes sense. So on. If all of us were to kneel over, order in the capital would break down like nothing. We always have to be the picture of health as we patrol the city, right, Time? For the sake of the homeland, as I say, I suppose so. First, the royal family gets the medicine, then the royal guards. Third comes the politicians, then the financiers who run the country's economy, the police, and firemen, doctors, and finally us, the capital military police. There's not enough to give. There's not enough to give it to just anybody. Oh, what spits out those final words and he asks, what do you think, Time? Ordinary subjects are people too. Is it okay to rank them all like that? In theory, Time should be able to reply without hesitation. That, of course, is it. Okay, but realistically speaking, he says, there's no way around it. He averts his gaze from the as he hears himself say those words. No way around it, huh? With obvious distaste, maybe you're right. Maybe there is no way around it. He sounds as if he is trying to convince you to fit back. It does seem to be the only means open to them. The folks here in the marketplace know about the disease, obviously. But their fears get the better of them. They could riot at any time. Absolutely. We could just manage to keep the peace by patrolling the streets like this. I know what you mean. If we were to succumb to the disease, their lives would be put all the more at risk. If we can't dose every subject in the kingdom, all we can do is think about how best to keep the harm or the impact of the disease at an absolute minimum. I couldn't have said it better myself, Kai. You get a perfect score. Good job. The words of praise carry obvious barbs. Oh. Sensing our presence, Kimes falls silent. Underlying the sharp comments is not only the pain of biting sarcasm, but the sorrow of helplessness. Two children, a boy and a younger girl, running past the men laughing, dressed in rags. They have probably come from the slums behind the market to gather scraps of vegetables little better than garbage. Leads to the receding forms and said, I'd like to ask you a question, Kyle. Alright. Are those kids subjects indispensable to the nation? Kyle has no answer for him. Because he knows the right answer all too well. He could only lapse into silence, responding to Kyle's silence with a bit of smile. According to your logic, Kyle, if those kids fall sick and die, there's no way around it. Or at least Capitol Police does have a greater right to the medicine than those kids do. Am I right, Kyle? Isn't that what you're saying? Kime could hardly declare that he is wrong. He was wrong. And silenced. Now don't misunderstand, I'm not attacking you, it's just that everyone is indispensable to somebody. It's kids, they may be just a nuisance to the state, poor beggars. But to their parents, they are indispensable lives that must be protected at all costs, am I wrong? What a kind-hearted fellow. Like, maybe too kind to a degree that could prove fatal to a soldier. From the direction of the castle comes the sound of the great bell. An emergency assembly signal to the soldiers patrolling the streets. The medicine seems to have arrived for them. Let's head back. And emerging from his gloom. Let's be good boys and take the miraculous medicine that's going to save our lives and protect the kingdom. The sorrow-filled thorns sprouting from his words pierce through the heart. It is the following day when Doc tells him of his plan to desert. I'm only telling this to you, Kime, when they're patrolling the marketplace again. I know the punishment for desertion is harsh. I'm not sure I can make it all the way, and if I'm caught, I know I'll be court-martialed and executed. He's resigned himself to the possibility, he says. That's why he wants to make sure that Kime knows the purpose of his desertion. I'm not betraying the country or the armory. I just have to deliver this. The tablet that he was issued the day before. You didn't take it? No, I fooled him. And then closing his over. You're gonna deliver it? Uh-huh. It's the mountain south of the capital. At the foot of those mountains is a village where I was born. My wife and son are there. He's just 5 years old. He's been sickly since the day he was born. If he gets the disease, it's all over for him. So you're going to give him the medicine. It's wrong for me to do that. Suddenly the general... I may be a soldier dedicated to protecting the nation. That I am a father of a son, and before that, I'm a human being. I don't give a damn about the kingdom's ranking of lives according to whether or not indispensable. I want to save the life of one human being who is indispensable to me. Doc's eyes take on at his strength. They are bloodshot now. Clear proof of his resolve. If I leave now, I can be back in the barracks by roll call tomorrow morning. I'll leave home as soon as I get given the medicine. I'm asking you to do me this one favor. Don't cause any commotion until then. No, of course not, but I'm not sure I can make it. And I'm sure my boy will die if I just stay here. He'll pull through if he has the medicine. If there's even the slightest possibility that I have no choice, I have to take a chance. They'll kill you if they catch you. I don't care. I can die with pride knowing that I did it to save the life of the one person most important. What if you get sick? All I can do is leave it up to fate. Human beings can't do anything about fate. But I do want to do everything I can as a human being. This is why Doc has revealed his plan to Kime. One more thing, Kime. If they kill me or if I get sick and die, I hope I can depend on you to visit my village sometime and tell my wife and son what happened. Make sure they know I didn't desert because I got fed up with the army. I did it to save my son's life, which is something that is way more important to me than army rules and even more important than my own life. He will be satisfied as long as that message gets through, he says with a smile. Kime has no way to reply to this. Not that Kime fully accepts everything God has said to him. He is convinced. Not so much by the way. By something that transcends reasoning. By the power of life. By the strength and depth of desire to save a life precisely because it is something that will eventually be cut off by death. I'm going to make a run for it while we're patrolling the marketplace. I'm asking you to look the other way. Telling them I disappeared when you took your eye off before it's good. And do nothing but accept Doc's plea in silence. That deep in the heart of those who love finite life is a place that cannot be entered by those who have been burdened inherently with life everlasting. The two men reached the far end of the market. Alright then, sorry to put you through this. The exit is about to plunge into the crowd when it happens. A child comes bounding out of the alleyway. It is the shabbily dressed girl from the slums who ran past the men yesterday laughing. Today, she is alone and crying her head off. Her wide eyes and when she spots Kyle and Doug with the uniform, she comes running them shouting, "Help!" Oh, what's the matter? She takes his hand and leads him into the alleyway as if to prevent the surrounding people from hearing to tell him, "It's my brother. He's sick. He's got a high fever and he's shaking all over. We got to do something or he's going to die." Look at each other. How about your parents? Don't you have a father or mother to take care of him? What parents? They both died a long time ago. It was just me and my big brother. Oh, please. But I was just ready to run. Now he looks at the girl straight in the eye. When did the fever start? Just a few minutes ago? We were leaving to pick up vegetable scraps and he fell down. Only a little time has passed since the disease struck. Could be saved by the medicine, but of course there is no medicine for slum children. Judging from the girl's wasted frame, her brother must also be eating poorly. The disease will almost surely ravage his malnourished body and snatch his life of ours. The girl will not come down with the disease, of course, but even if it cannot attack her directly, once she has lost the only member of her family and has no one to take care of her, the tiniest thing is bound to trace the same fatal path as her parents and brothers sooner or later. Please help my brother, please. She clings to Kyle and Doc, huge tears streaming down her cheeks. Kyle gives her a slight, silent nod. He raises slowly and reaches for a small leather pouch dangling from her sword belt. Before he can lay hold of it, he hears Doc say to the dog, "Don't worry." Doc is holding out his hand to her. In the palm of his hand is a tablet. The thing is, Kyle probably has a tablet as well. That's what he was trying to probably reach for. Because he doesn't need it since he's immortal. Diseases don't affect him. Give this to your brother. There's still time to save him. The girl gives him a puzzled look and hesitates. Hurry, do it now. I'm already home now. Thank you. Her shrill, tearful voice rings out as she disappears into the alleyway. I'm glad it worked out like this time. The pace bomb. So now I won't be branded a deserter. I don't have to give you anything to worry about. No, this is a good thing. He's trying to convince himself. He even nods deeply in agreement. Surely he could not have done this without regrets. His son at home should take sick and die. His voice is calm, however, as he says, "I can't help it. When I saw that little girl crying like that, I know my son would understand." Another deep nod. Still, Doc. Never mind, don't say a thing. Squints towards the alleyway, the room, and there's absolutely no rank order to lives. The only thing that matters is to save a life you see with your own two eyes. You mean, just because I saved one kid's life, there's no guarantee he'll grow up to be a credit to the nation. Maybe all I've succeeded in doing was prolonging the life of yet another drag on the state. When I get back to the barracks, I'll start thinking of other people I should have saved instead. On the other hand, I look at it this way too. Maybe it is just a matter of in a human instinct to want to save the life before your eyes. Maybe we learn those other kinds of ranking later for the nation or for the people or even for my son. I may have failed as a soldier or as a father, but I think I did the right thing as a human being. Himself there and starts walking without waiting for Kime to reply. He might be trying to hide his embarrassment as his own tortured reasoning. The laughter calls out the Drakus casually, as if he were suggesting they go to the tavern for drinks. Hey, Doc. You forgot this. He says he erupted before reaching for the leather pouch tied to his sword hilt. From it, he takes a small pill. What? I didn't take it. Incapable of losing his life to a disease, Kime has no use for the medicine to begin with. I was telling Doc about that. Even if you were to try telling him that he lived 1,000 years, it's not likely that Doc him seriously. You have a family, Doc. Lives you'd give anything to protect. Great thing. Hand with a tablet in it, the way Doc did earlier to the girl. I envy you, he says. Hey, I mean you. I don't have a family, he says, responding to a kind smile with a mixture of loneliness and warmth. Doc silently accepts the tablet. Well, would you look at that beautiful blue sky, Pam says. I think I'll just stand here for a while looking up at it, not thinking about anything at all. This might be a good time for you to run home to your son. He says, looking up as long as he hears the sound of footsteps running across the stone. Make sure you come back alive, Doc. Until he disappears at the market crowd. The village closest to heaven. That is not what I thought I'd hear the moment I hit this one. In this village, ringed by jagged mountains, the women give birth to many children. 5 or 6 is not uncommon. Just the other day, the wife of a village headman gave birth to her 10th child. Why? It was that, probably it. And why do you think that is? The young fellow asked the traveler, looking down at the snow blanket village. Kime cocks his head in search of an answer. Meanwhile, the young man takes something like a piece of crystal candy from a small leather pouch, pops it in his mouth, says it out, because they die right away. What? They die right away. The children? Hardly anybody grows up to be an adult. Most kids die after 5 or 6 short summers. Look at the village headman's wife. She's lost 7 kids already. That is... What? Whether from a genetic problem or a disease epidemic in the area, the people of this village have always lived short lives, he says. From way, way back. Now that you mention it, I haven't seen any old people here. See what I mean? A few decades ago, I'm told one person lived to be 50. People say that's the oldest anyone ever got in the whole history of the village. This is why we give birth to lots of kids. Give birth to a lot and lose a lot. Just one of them lives into adulthood though. The family line is saved and the village history continues. You see my point? The young man is 16. as is his wife. What? Their first child is due to be born any day now, literally today or tomorrow. The young man crunches down on the candy in his mouth. Let's get going, he says. And around his wrists, he winds the rope he uses to pull the sleigh. He hasn't loaded the sleigh yet, but dragging it up the steep, snow-covered road is hard work. This, he says, is why the pay is good. Only a few days earlier, he lost his good friend and fellow worker. He had been 3 years his senior. When time happened along, the young man asked him if he would help by pushing the sleigh from behind until they cleared the pass. Time agreed, and they began an instant team. What goes around the back of the sleigh and asks, "You don't have any animals to pull the sleigh?" "Afraid not. I know it's strange, but our horses and cattle and donkeys all die young. You could spend a lot of money at the town market buying an animal and it'll cure over before it's done a lick of work. Finally, the best way is for us humans to plow the fields and pull the sleighs ourselves." The arm with which the young man himself is pulling his sled are massive, and he forges through the roads, snowy covered, with powerful steps. His fellow worker was stronger still, he found. He taught me how to pull the sleigh, how to set rabbit traps, how to build a fire, all the skills I need to live, with all the love he would give to a kid brother. Before I knew it, he was gone. "People here always die suddenly," he said. "You could be perfectly healthy one minute and drop dead the next. No time for suffering, just like that. Time to call a doctor. Even if a doctor comes, there's nothing you can do. Did your friend die that way?" "Uh-huh. He was shoveling the snow that piled up overnight, clearing the road when he dropped dead. By the time we ran over to help him, he was gone. That's how it always is. Always. That's how they die. Grown-ups, kids, everyone. Too bad?" "I guess so. Nobody knows when the moment is coming. It might be decades from now. It could be tomorrow. Isn't that how life is? Always?" After this cool pronouncement, the young man turns to look at Kime and pointed at his own chest, or maybe even now, without a hint of despair or bitterness towards the cruelty of his fate. "Are you afraid to die?" He stops himself. It's a stupid question. He decides in one night he is not qualified to ask. Or could a man burdened with eternal life find appropriate word? To speak to a man burdened with the threat of sudden death. Kime and the young man keep dragging the sled up the steep mountain pass. Their destination is the lake beyond the pass. The young man's job calls for him to cut ice from the surface of the frozen lake and transport it back to the village. We are in the village called the lake. We in the village called the lake the Spring of Life. If you trace the source of the water that bubbles out of the ground here and there in the village, you always wind up at the Spring of Life. Okay. Ice from the Spring of Life takes forever to melt. That's why, look, you can even do this. Again, takes a piece of the crystal candy, or rather ice, from his other mouth to put it in his mouth. It gives you energy. It's indispensable when doing hard work or for pregnant women or infants. Just put a piece in your mouth, it gives you instant strength. And there it is. I've already probably figured out what is causing them to die so quickly. It's burning that the ice or candy or whatever he's taking it's eating his life force probably. The young man offers a piece of time who nods again into the island. We're not supposed to give any to outsiders, but you're special because I'm putting you to work. Give it to you, though. I want you to help me load the ice on the sleigh. I can handle it by myself on my way back. Steps the ice from the young man, who assures him it tastes good, too. Someone puts the piece in his mouth. The ice should be nothing but frozen water, but it has a mild sweetness. Just as time expected, he spits it out when the young man... Poison. I know that taste. The village people are used to this taste, so they think nothing of it. Without a doubt, though, there was poison in the ice. The long flow of time smooths over the wounds inflicted by history. The permanently snow-capped peaks make people forget the existence of the wild world on the other side. All this is the spring of life. But those who lived far beyond the mountains, most of the river that feeds the lake, used to know it as the pit of death. Long, long ago, several hundred years ago, the entire area around the river source was polluted with a poison metallic outflow from the mine. The river was filled with dead fish floating belly up, and the poisonous gas that rose like a mist from the ground killed both the earthbound animals and the birds in the sky. The forest withered, and the lively town that had grown up with the development of the mine became a desert ruin. Ah. See, like I said, the lake is the reason why they're dying. It's contaminated, and they don't even realize it. Nature took many years to recover, but the forests eventually turned green again. Wow, which attracted small energies and eventually large animals to hunt in them. People, however, never came back, and there was no one left to hand down the story that occurred at the river's source deep in the mountain. The only one who knows everything about that happened is kind, the man who has lived 1,000 years. Stands by the frozen lake and takes a nice, satisfying stretch, you know? I sometimes think this village just might be the closest one to heaven in the whole world. It's because we are too close to heaven that we're all summoned by the gods early on. Don't you think that might be true? Kaim says nothing in response to this. Over many years, this lake has accumulated the metallic poison that flowed into it from upstream. Over many years, the poison that had infiltrated the soil has mingled with the groundwater, bubbling up in the spring water, with which the village slaked their thirst. No one knows the exact chemical makeup of the poison, but at least it does not cause the villagers to suffer until at least the moment of their lives takes its toll. This may be one fortunate aspect. On the other hand, this might simply make the misfortune it brings all more conspicuous. Still, still, the young man says as he saws off a piece of ice by the shore. I do hope that the children my wife and I have will be able to live longer lives. Say, if we have 5, at least one of them will live long enough to grow up and have kids. That way, for me, it would be like finding some meaning having been born into this world. It's the same with my father and mother and my grandparents. They all had lots of kids and mourned the loss of lots of kids, but managed to raise 1 or 2 adulthood before they died. That's what gives our life meaning. He wipes the sweat on her brow and puts another piece of candy. Yep, it's another one. He's already had 3 today. If I were to tell him everything I know, If I were to tell him everything, he were to tell the other villagers, the tragedy might not have to be repeated. Now he says, when a baby is born here, they ring the village bell. Also, when someone dies. The same for both. Earth and death are like two sides of the same coin, so there's no sadness when someone dies. Everybody sees them off with a smile and a wish. You go ahead of us to heaven and say we can spot for us. Do you understand that sentiment? I do. Says Kime, I do. That's how we've always done it. Welcoming lots of new lives to the village, sending lots of lives off to heaven. I've never been much of a student, so I don't know exactly how to put this, but I kind of think that maybe the village closest to heaven is a place where life and death are right next door to each other. Jeez. If only he really knew how close to the mark he is. An embarrassed smile at the sound of his own voice. Maybe it's because I'm about to have a kid of my own that I'm starting to think about these complicated things. No, I'm sorry. I see exactly what you mean, Kim says. The moment the words leave his mouth, a bell sounds from the foot of the hill, several long, slow rings. That's it! My child has been born. He dips his head, it's favoring the sound of his own words. My child. Because the sound in each case is something different. When a young villager learns to tell the two apart, it is considered to be an adult. I hope this one lives a long time. It says, choking with the flood of emotions that show on his face, but then he goes on as if to negate his own hopes of future. Either way, whether it lives a long time or not, the child has now been born into this world. All that matters. I'm happy, so happy. Eyes full of tears. He turns a beat of yep. Oh, and Kime, and then still smiling, collapses where he stands. He's dead, by the way. Kime lays the young man's corpse on the sleigh and returns to it. As the young man said, the village accepts his death with the same smiles they had. For the birth of it. Death is not a time for sorrow. It simply marks whether one called to heaven earlier or later. Wife takes an ice candy from her letter pouch she left behind and places it gently into the baby's mouth. I want you to grow up and healthy, she says. Daddy is saving a wonderful place for you in heaven, but go there slowly until you go to heaven. I want you to grow up here in the village till you're nice and big. Gentle tone. The lullaby. Kime says nothing. If he is to stand unflinchingly for what is right, his silence may be a crime, but burdened with eternal life, Kime knows how suspect the right can be. Throughout history, people have fought and wounded and killed each other in the name of what they declare to be right. By comparison, the look on the dead young man's face is tranquility itself. The village closest to heaven is filled with happiness indeed. The baby starts to cry. It's loud wailing, like a celebration. Like a celebration of the beginning of its own life, however short that life is likely to be. Kime leaves the village with a smile on his face. The village bell, the peal, reverberating with utter clarity throughout the distant mountains as if to bestow a blessing on the young man who lived life to the fullest with neither resentment nor regret. And when this too long life of mine draws to a close, I'd like to be sent off with the sound of bells like this if possible. Because he knows that day will never come. And walks on, never stopping, looking back. His long journey is far from over.